Today we're going to be looking at 10 tips that you should know before planting your spring blooming bulbs in the fall, such as tulips, daffodils, crocuses, and all of those other ones. If you've never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. Let's get right into it. So the first one is when. When do you plant your spring blooming bulbs? The best time to plant them is in the fall, usually October and November. And a good clue to that is just to look around and see how the leaves in your area is looking. If they kind of look like this or close to this, then it means that it's cool enough, because typically what you want is high temperatures in the mid to lower 70s to start, and the overnight temperature should be between 55 and 40 degrees, and this is all in Fahrenheit. So that's usually a good clue. Also, if you do see them in your garden center, it's another signal that it's a good time to go in and get them. But I would say don't wait until it's cool enough. If they're available, get them, because these tend to run out very quickly. If that happens to you, or it's a case where you just didn't get to plant them and it's like winter or early spring, you can always wait and just pick up some like these at your garden center and just pick up the following year. We try to keep our gardening as stress-free as possible. The next one is to make sure that the bulbs are healthy. So when you go to purchase them, you want to take a look at them and see how they feel. So you want to, hold them. They should be firm. They should not be mushy. They should be dry. You shouldn't see any weeping, any fluid anywhere. If you see that, it means that it's not good. If it smells like mold, definitely not good. You want to toss those. And of course, you can buy them online too. If there is an issue, you can always have them returned, and I'll link some of them below for you. So these right here, over here now, these are some tulips that I got. And as you can see, they are looking absolutely fabulous, very healthy, and that is what we want to see. So this is, just to give you a visual of kind of what to expect when you're looking at good bulbs. Number 3 would be getting good soil. It needs to be nice and airy. So if you're doing in the flower beds, you want to make sure you have good garden soil. And you can add in manure if you want, or if you prefer to use, fertilizers like these, you can. And I'll link in the description box at least one of those. We can get them on Amazon. Of course, if you're planting them in containers, you want to get good potting soil, because again, you need it to be light and airy. You don't want the soil to be heavy and to weigh them down. Next thing is depth. That would be number 4. And as far as the rule of thumb goes, you typically want to take a look at the length of your bulb from top to bottom. And it's usually about 2.5 times the depth that you plant them. So say if it's 1.5, you maybe go like about 4.5 to 5 inches of depth. So you can see how I did them here. I just put the soil in, put them on, and then I went ahead and covered it to make sure they have enough coverage on there. Of course, for smaller bulbs like your crocuses, they're very, very little. So for these, usually maybe it's about 3/4 of an inch, and maybe want to put those maybe like for 3 to 4 inches at the most. Or like your Dutch iris right here, these are also, smaller in size as well. So you always want to take a look at them and see, how long they are. And then you can go ahead and, decide how you want to do them. Daffodils are another one again that usually mid-size, and those are usually about 1.5 inches or so, sometimes an inch, and so you'll go based off of that. Now these right here, these are some bulb planters, and I'll link those in the description box for you. If you want, you can try getting those on Amazon. However, if you don't have those, you don't want to get them your trowel like I have here, it is perfect. There's some of them that are a little bit more narrow, but it'll work for you as well. And if you wanted to get a step-by-step video to see that of how I planted some of these bulbs, I'm going to link my autumn playlist. You can just go in and take a look, and you'll be able to find them there. Next thing is arrangement of your bulbs when you're planting them. So shorter ones like your crocuses and your Dutch iris right here, you want to put those more towards the front of your flower bed, or if you're putting it in a container, the same rule applies. If you're doing taller ones like alliums, those go towards the back, unless they're miniature versions, but most of the alliums are pretty tall, they go all the way up. And then, of course, you want to make sure you put them in clusters and not, single them out so they're stringy. Next thing would be your color scheme. It's good to coordinate your color scheme opposite side of the color wheel, or you can do monochromatic if you like. But, they do sell lots of different ones that are mixed. So if you're not too sure what to do, especially if you're a beginner, you can always get these ones that are already made for you. So, it takes the hassle and the worry out of it. And, it's going to come out perfect for you like these. This is just one type right here, but they have different colors already. So you have that nice variation without clashing of the colors. And these are some crocuses. Even though they are mixed, they mix them in a way that it actually works. Because not everything works with everything as far as the color blending goes. So definitely bear that in mind. And what I'll also say too is like, say, you have like two-tone flowers like these tulips right here. Sometimes these are best by themselves. Or maybe put them with something that has just one solid color that is already in it. So it kind of like pulls it together and it matches. So like those would go well maybe with like a red or with a yellow if that's the way you're going. Of course, if you're trying to like say do a field of them where you have a lot of them that you're putting out, you just go ahead and put a whole swatch of one color and it'll be pretty. And over here you see some other ones here. They kind of like were in the pink to red color scheme up to the top there. So it just depends on what you're working on, but always bear in mind, how the colors come together because you want it to be beautiful in your garden. And just to say, if you wanted to follow along with my garden tips, tours, and topics, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell twice so you never miss an upload. Moving on to number 7, that will be your container size. Typically, you want to have larger containers to put your bulbs in. You want them to have thickness. If you're going to be using like ceramic pots, they should be thick and they definitely should have holes in the bottom because you do want to make sure that the water is going to drain out properly. Of course, the other option too is to get the plastic ones. Make sure they're thick enough, like a solid plastic that you're using. And this is a planter that did not come with any holes in the bottom. So we had to put holes in the bottom. So you will be wanting to make sure you use like a drill or, just something that's going to cut the holes in there. So that way you won't have any problem because they will get root rot on you if they're not able to drain properly. And of course, there's some beautiful planters right here as well too. So unless you're putting them on your patio maybe or your porch, these would really work very well, but make sure you get the larger ones if you're doing it because they do need that additional soil around them. Number 8 would be mulching. Mulching is always a good idea, pretty much for almost any plant that you put, unless they have they have large rhizomes like your iris. Those are the exceptions, but typically speaking, mulch works really well because it helps to keep them warm in the winter. It helps to keep them cool in the summer when they dry down. It helps to keep pests away as well. And you can also put like chicken wire and weigh it down over them if you're having issues like with squirrel, because I know they love tulips and we have issues with them sometimes. So put your chicken wire mesh, some weights, and you should be good. And don't worry, guys, that it's not going to come up through the mulch. It absolutely will, because these are some daffodils right here. And this is actually pine bark mulch, pretty thick and large pieces, but it just pushes its way right up through and it just grows the right way. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I absolutely love daffodils. Say if this is going to be the first time you plant bulbs, I would say start with daffodils. One, because they're very good repeaters, meaning that they come back year after year. They smell really sweet. If you've never smelled daffodils before, I would say definitely give it a try. And they spread out year after year. Tulips are absolutely gorgeous, but these are some right here from a previous year that I took up, but they're not very good repeaters. They're very, very beautiful and I love them. But I'd say maybe like after year 2 or 3, they get smaller in size. And even if you feed them, they don't give you that, pop of color that you want. So you see, this is so beautiful right here. This was year 1 and they were so absolutely gorgeous. By the second year, they were smaller. So just goes to show that this is how they are, especially if you're not in a very, very cold area. That happens. Next thing is not to overwater, and this is number 9, tip number 9, because if you have them in the flower beds, typically once you've planted them and you water them and they're, good to go, usually whatever rain you get during the winter is enough for them. The ground gets frozen over, so they just pretty much sit there and they wait. Of course, you always want to make sure the water drains out when you are watering. If they're maybe say on your patio and not getting rain, maybe like once a month would be good enough for them. Moving on to the next one, that'll be number 10. And that would be to make sure they get full to part sun. And for full to part sun, that means part sun is 4 to 6 hours of sunlight per day. Full sun, 6 or more. They really do need the sun, guys. So, think carefully when you're going to go ahead and choose them. And I have a bonus for you here, which is that the sun sets in the west and it rises in the east. So you can stand up and figure out how your garden is and you can make a decision where you should put them. So we're going to go ahead and just recap these 10 tips that I did for you today. The first one is when to plant them, and that would be in the cooler months in the fall, usually October or November, depending on where you are. You want to make sure that you're choosing healthy bulbs, that they feel solid, they don't have an odor, they're dry and they look healthy. Third one would be make sure that you have good fluffy soil. It nice to be nice and loose, not like a heavy clay soil. If that's the case for you, need to amend them and just add in some lighter soil into it. About how deep to plant them, usually 2 to 2.5 times the depth of the actual bulb itself, and you'll want to turn your bulb's pointy part up and the flat side to the bottom so the roots can come out. They'll correct themselves if that happens, but at the same time you just want to make it easier for them. Next thing is how you arrange them. You want to make sure that the shorter ones are at the front, taller ones are to the back if you're putting like different types of bulbs. Next thing is the color scheme. If you're not sure how to do it, just get some of them that are already prepared for you, or just choose either monochromatic or opposite sides of the color wheel and you should be perfectly fine. Containers need to be a pretty decent size and they should have holes in the bottom. You want to apply mulch on top of them to make sure that they have a nice warm blanket in the winter. You want to make sure you don't overwater them, would be number 9. And number 10, make sure they get full sun or at least part shade. So I hope that this was helpful to you as you go ahead and you choose your bulbs. And guys, don't wait. If they're available, get them. You can just, store them in a cool, dry place and wait until it's cool enough for you to put them out. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Be sure to check out my autumn playlist. And if you have never subscribed to my channel before, be sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the notification bell twice so you never miss an upload. I wish you a happy fall gardening and take care.